with back-to-back wins. Is he now one of the best four drivers in the sport and now a championship contender? We'll talk about it next here on Stuck in the Catch Fence. Welcome in. This is the race review for today's FireKeepers Casino 400. Definitely could have been a two-part review, but I myself was in Michigan yesterday for the rain, drizzling, soaked afternoon that turned out to be right about 70 laps. So we are back, came home last night, ended up working today, obviously, and then watching the race as much as I could. Overall, a fun race. And, I think that going into the rain delay yesterday, a lot of us would have been probably hedging our bet that Martin Truex Jr. was going to win the race. He had the best car. And at the end of the day, there was 3 or 4 drivers that could have won that race. And it comes out to be Chris Buescher. So, again, Chris Buescher finds a way to get to victory lane, but we'll get into that more in just a bit. My first question for you guys, did you enjoy the race? I think overwhelmingly it was a really, really good race. I mean, we saw cars lose tires, as in blown tires, that is. We saw guys make mistakes like Kyle Busch and like William Byron, things of that nature. We saw some pretty solid passing, especially mid and on restarts. It was a little bit harder to pass the leader. And we saw comers and goers like in this race. I mean, Bubba Wallace was fast at one point in this race. Tyler Reddick was really fast during this race. Obviously, Martin Truex Jr., dominated for a lot of this race. But at the end of the day, it came down to Chris Buescher winning back-to-back for RFK and getting Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing their 13th win. And that's a big deal because this is obviously in Ford Chevy's backyard in Michigan. 13th win for Jack Roush at Michigan Speedway. They have dominated there. So a good overall race for them. Truex fan says, hi, rain streaks again, just a painful ending. Truex fan, I'm sure it was a painful ending for you, but for a lot of other people, I think they enjoyed it. That being said, take solace in the fact that your driver's really good and really, really fast every single race. I think right now, Martin Truex, I obviously had him at my P1 spot in the power rankings, and we saw that again. But at the end of the day, it was Chris Buescher who ended up winning the race. Chris Buescher, with a strategy call, came out in front of Martin Truex, was able to hold him off. Martin Truex, I'm not really sure what the idea was to hold off the way that they did when it came to pitting. They definitely had the fastest car. We saw them. Martin Truex drove a rocket in stage 2. Literally drove a rocket with 15 laps left to win stage 2, to the surprise of nobody. And it just seemed like it was going to be one of those Martin Truex boring days. I mean, at the end of the day, and it was on a Monday, which, Martin Truex has won both Monday races, almost won again today. But Chris Buescher and his team, all engines just absolutely on fire right now. RFK has now moved themselves as the best Ford program, and that's over Stewart-Haas Racing. That's over Penske Racing. They have moved themselves up. And right now, the only thing I can compare it to with what Brad Keselowski has got going on there and with what Chris Buescher has right now is this monumental leap, kind of like what we saw out of Trackhouse last year. It just seems like they're getting faster before they get slower. Obviously, we know Brad Keselowski is a talented driver. I'm not one to sing Brad Keselowski praises, but he's a good driver. He's a championship driver. Let's just put it that way. I mean, that's all that needs to be said about that. And what he has done off the track to get RFK competitive, to me, is even more impressive than what he's done on the track, driving the Blue Deuce and things of that nature for Penske. He has turned around a very, very, very struggling organization in Roush that seemed like it died in the 90s. And now, we're looking at them. And the bigger question moving forward is, at this point, when's Keselowski going to win? To me, that's a bigger question. Obviously, we know what Chris Buescher can do. I mean, Chris Buescher, you think about it this way. He just won at a 3/4 of a mile Richmond track and then just won at a 2-mile oval in Michigan, fast oval, going over 200 miles per hour. And now probably gets to go to his best type of racing, which is road course racing. I mean, even when they didn't have the speed last year, Chris Buescher was still really, really good at road course racing. Now he gets back to back with the Indy road course, then Watkins Glen. I mean, really setting themselves up to now not just make the playoffs, but be in position to move forward into the second round of the playoffs, possibly the third round if they can continue to accumulate points. Brad Keselowski has done everything. He might have actually clinched a spot today with his run. I'll have to double check that. I know a few drivers did clinch spots today. And, I said earlier that I was really impressed with RFK. They were my storyline to begin, midway through the first part of this season, and they've continued that. And not only have they become well respected, now they're a force. And, we see the highs and lows of a season. It's a long season. I mean, we're still, 3-4 races outside the playoffs. So things can happen. I mean, it at the beginning of the year, you would have said that there's no way Hendrick doesn't win this. And now Hendrick's having a hard time getting more than one guy in the top 10, which is crazy. So there could be lulls coming. The thing about it is we're seeing RFK produce on tracks they weren't producing at last year and still being good at tracks they were good at last year in road courses. So congratulations to Chris Buescher. Just an overall great performance. Right here, Truex Jr. I'm not sure if Chase is going to make it without a win. He can't. He can't make it without a win. He has to win now. With what happened to him finishing in next to last, he has to get a win. So, I mean, that's just all there is to it. And again, the next question I have for you guys is Chris Buescher championship 4 material? That's a big question. That's a big if. I don't know if I'm there yet. Ross Chastain made the championship 4 last year. Chase Briscoe was close. Do I think he can be? Yes. I think he would be the wild card that made it in. Right now, if I'm hedging my bet, I'm going Martin Truex. I'm going Kyle Larson. I'm going William Byron. And then it gets really tough. I mean, like Kyle Busch had his 5th DNF. It seems like, really early, if Kyle Busch has speed or not. Christopher Bell's been inconsistent. Denny Hamlin's been on a really good run. Another top 5 for him. This is going to be a really, really competitive Final 4. And I feel like if Chris Buescher can run well at the road courses, set himself up to where they set themselves to have some points to play with before Daytona. And by the way, that's where Fords run the best, is at restrictor plates or tapered spacers now, if you want to, be technical about it. Then I think he has a chance. We got the Roval, which will be good for him. Talladega in the playoffs. So I think he's knocking on the door. I don't know if I would bet it yet. Round of 8, absolutely. I've seen enough out of RFK Racing this year to say that I wouldn't be shocked at all if one of them made the round of 8. Championship 4, I don't know if I'm there yet. In 2 weeks, I might be all in. I'm right now, I'm slow playing my hand. I'm not shoving all in. In 2 weeks, I might just say, hell with it. I'm all in. Pre-flop, don't even look at the cards. So, I mean, it's been that type of run here recently. And the same thing with Martin Truex. I mean, Martin Truex, again, just flat out has one of the fastest cars in the sport. And right now he would be my championship favorite. And, I'm probably going to do a video on Martin Truex and the crazy ride that he's had, here in his entire career, and see if he's really somebody that we should talk more about, long term, of one of the best drivers of our time. Because, I mean, he had an unconventional way starting it, with DEI, and then moved over to Red Bull and Michael Waltrip. And he's been kind of all over the place until he got his ride at Toyota. And once he got over, to Furniture Row, you could argue him and Kyle Busch have consistently been the two best, at least the two most dominating drivers when there's been races to dominate. Those two have made very boring races. And if you're one of their fans, that's a good thing. So go ahead and look at the questions real quick. Zach says, yo, James Small needs fired. Bro. It was one single race, Truex fan, and your driver is on the verge of winning the regular season championship. Relax. But I do want to go ahead and have a look at the Michigan results. So let me go ahead and bring those up for you guys so you can see it if you were unable to see them beginning, or if you're like me and forgot, because I do forget things. Chris Buescher with the win. Obviously, Martin Truex Jr. there in second place. Would have lost a bet if I would have saw that Chris Buescher led more laps than Martin Truex. But there you have it, 55 points. Denny Hamlin, another great run. Brad Keselowski, a top 5 run. Good for him again. And then Kyle Larson, the only Hendrick driver that didn't wreck. Not ran well, that didn't wreck. Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain back-to-back. They're at 6 and 7. And I do want to take a quote that I heard from Daniel Suarez. And, we talked about how they didn't have any top 10s here in the Nashville, since they won. And Daniel Suarez says that Trackhouse Racing and that team really struggle with the low downforce package. And he said that he thinks that they'll be good at Michigan. And those are type of things that you'll want to remember, especially if you're a betting person or you're a FanDuel person that sets lineups. Those are meaningful statements that are 100% honest, and was proven today. I mean, they were fast, and they backed it up, leading 16 and 12 laps and getting 45 points for Daniel Suarez, which is huge for somebody on the bubble. And we'll check those standings in a minute. Kevin Harvick didn't really have that top speed like we were expecting. He's done really, really well at this track. Ryan Blaney, a top 10. And then Eric Jones. I think that surprises everybody how well they ran. Obviously, the stuff going on at Legacy Motor Club, the hit job that they are doing to Noah Gragson right now. I got a video coming out on that tomorrow. So if you want some spiciness, some caliente, that will be out tomorrow at 5 p.m. So be sure to check that. But again, good for Eric Jones. Ty Gibbs got a lot of points today. Christopher Bell took a broken down, beaten down car somehow and got 13th when he spun out by himself. And again, the guys I want to go back to here in just a second, Bubba Wallace, 18th. That is not ideal. That is not where he should have been. That car had way more speed to be finishing than 18th. And then his teammate Tyler Reddick in 30th. And then you got a who's who on who's in last. And that's all Chevys. Alex Bowman, Josh Berry, William Byron, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Busch. Yeah, that's not a great showing for them. But I want to show you guys the standings real quick. And there you can see it, driver standings, playoff standings. But let's go ahead and get the playoff standings and look at the bubble right now. Number one I want to point out is this. Chase Elliott is not getting in unless he wins a race. I mean, that's just all there is to it. There is no way that he can make up 55 points on Ty Gibbs unless he wins a race. Michael McDowell started in the positive. He is now 3 points behind. The biggest mover today outside of Ty Gibbs, who was quite a few points out, is Daniel Suarez getting within 5 points. That's really, really good. Now AJ Allmendinger, looking at that. He's 24 points out. He can find himself back into the positive with the 2 road course races coming up. Bubba Wallace is not a great road course racer. He's got a comfortable cushion, but cannot have catastrophic things happen. And we've seen catastrophic things happen out of Bubba Wallace. Outside of that, you're talking about the win club: Alex Bowman, Hendrick, Elliott, and then you're talking, Haley Almirola. Obviously, all these guys have to get a win if they want to get into the playoffs. And don't forget, Shane Van Gisbergen will be at Indy this coming weekend. So the guys I did want to talk about as well, disappointing day for 23XI and Hendrick. And the thing I want to talk about with 23XI, Tyler Reddick winning the race. I mean, literally, was the guy supposed to win the race based upon his team strategy? And again, has an issue on pit road where the right rear tire changer, I'm not sure what he was doing exactly, but I mean, it's like he knew something was wrong with the tire, but decided to move on anyway. And then after he moved on from that, he just left it loose. I don't know what you call it, but we do have Tyler Reddick, his feedback after such incident happened. So let's go ahead and I'll bring that for you guys here in just a second. Let me know what you guys think of this. I have never heard Tyler Reddick like this in my entire life. So kids at home, use your earmuffs if you have to. But here we go. This is Tyler Reddick. You're having to come back down with the right rear tire being jacked up.
Listen in to the 45 radio.
Looked at it. It then hesitated. It did back it. Unacceptable.
Listen in to the 45 radio.
So, yeah. I'm not sure how loud that was, but I honestly don't want to be playing explicatives as it's going again nonstop. But I've never seen Tyler or heard Tyler Reddick like that before, and that's probably the third time that I can think of that Tyler Reddick's pit crew screwed him out of a win, and that's just wild to me. And again, where last week at Richmond they had speed and another pit road issue. This week they have speed. Bubba Wallace was out front at Richmond and then is nowhere to be found. Finishes below 15th. They could have really, really, for Bubba Wallace, almost sealed the fact that the 2 road courses would not have mattered. And then Daytona is Daytona. Nobody knows what the hell is going to happen there. So another disappointing day for Richmond. Did talk about Trackhouse bouncing back. But Hendrick, what is going on, man? Chase Elliott has no speed. I mean, he had decent speed, but not enough speed to win a race, at least from what we saw. Alex Bowman has found himself DNFing almost every single week. And now William Byron does not have the same speed. He's got a couple wins I consider very, very lucky, very Mickey Mouse-like. But he's definitely not the dominant force we saw earlier that was leading on the laps. Those are questions to be had. Can they turn it around before the playoffs or during the playoffs? I'm not really sure. But, yeah, Michigan was a great race. Truex fan shows his emojis for Tyler Reddick, and Zach said heated as well. Truex fan says RIP to 2023 for Hendrick. I'm not sure I'm there yet, but I'm definitely concerned. Sorry, Zach. I unfortunately, Alex Bowman today drove like he played for the Pistons, and that was not very good. And I thought he was going to have a good day. I even texted you whenever he was leading, and I was like, oh, my God, he's out front. And unfortunately, most solar eclipses, they don't last for very long. And a good day for him, it just didn't happen. So, yeah. That's about it, though, on the Michigan. We talked about it for about 20 minutes. I will say this, as somebody who went to the track, pretty awesome track. Definitely want to go back. I didn't get served justice due to Mother Nature. Went to Berlin. I got a video up on that. My vlog of me going to Berlin Raceway, watching the SRX series. Got this sweet shirt. My boy Kyle Busch won it. Thank God. I needed something for Kyle because I got to see him race in a NASCAR race for 15 laps. So there you go, Zach. He did run a lot longer than Kyle Busch did today, and Chase Elliott. So, yeah, definitely impressed with what we had at Michigan. Definitely would like to go back. We'll be at the Indy Roval this week. So there's that. I also will be at the truck race on Friday night as well. So very much looking forward to that. Taking somebody who's never been to an oval asphalt race. We went to the road course last year. Now he's interested enough to go to the oval asphalt race. So definitely think that's going to be a good time. And if you see me out there, say hi. If you don't know who I am when you see me out there, then, tell me I'm number one with the middle finger. I don't really care. And you might want to do that on the next video, because I tell you why I personally believe, with the issues going around Noah Gragson, that he deserves the punishment that was handed to him by NASCAR. But it's probably not for reasons you think. So that video will premiere tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Wednesday, we'll see about having a news. Depends on what kind of news we have. Obviously, Martin Truex Jr. did re-sign for next year, Truex fan. So that's good news for you. You do not have to wonder who you're going to root for next year. Truex signed an extension, so we'll talk about that and maybe some expectations for Shane Van Gisbergen. Are we already too high, thinking that he could be a top 5 favorite, for Indy Road Course? So all those type of things. FireKeeper 400, great race. Definitely wish it could have happened in one day. We know for a fact, at least in Indy, we have rain tires. So hopefully we won't have anything to worry about whenever it comes to that. So, yep, that's going to do it for this post-race show. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been Ryan Peters with Stuck in the Catch Fence. We'll see you next time.